Hey, welcome to Screenplay Junkie. My name's Drew Hellmich, and I'm a screenwriter. Film is a pretty sweet medium of art. However, before anything can make it to the big screen, it must start as a blueprint, text on paper. So if you're a fellow addict of film and storytelling, come join us as we take a look at various types of screenplays, short stories, and other source material that were crucial to the creation of the stories that we all love. I must warn you, though, there will be spoilers, so I do recommend being familiar with the title that's being discussed. Sound good? Cool. Then let's get started. Welcome back, fellow story addicts, to Screenplay Junkie, episode number 36. Drew, Matt, and Bryan here.
Hey, what's going on?
Sally and Hart over there.
Brian's back on the phone, no longer in the studio.
No, sadly, no more in the studio.
Unfortunately. But what?
Gotta love the phone calls.
We prefer to have
Yeah.
we prefer to have you here in person, but we make it
Exactly.
work.
Yeah, I love to be there.
How's Iowa City been?
Oh, it's going well. Being a degenerate here and there every once in a while, but, getting back into school.
Very good. Get educated.
Last year, man.
Of course, here for education.
So you're not buried in anything, are you?
What was that?
You're not buried in any assignments yet, not buried in any exams, none of that yet.
Yeah.
I see what you did there, but no, that should be piling on in the next couple weeks.
All right, well, hopefully you have room to breathe then.
It's horrible.
Anyways, yeah. Enough of the puns. So, today we're going to be talking about Buried. I've actually never seen this movie, read the
I had
script.
never heard of it until you brought it up to me, but it's
Neither have I.
It's one of the most unique movies I've ever seen or read.
Yeah. I guess so. Let's just talk about, why did we pick this one today? The short reason is because I've heard multiple screenwriters just from other podcasts that I listen to. They've mentioned this script as a must-read if you want to be a screenwriter. But what's the reason for that? Well, it's not a conventional script. So, what's a conventional script then? Typical scripts have varying locations. They're generally open and easily accessible. Just think of any movie you've ever seen in your life, right? They have more than one character, a handful of characters. Well, the story of Buried takes place entirely in a coffin underground with only one character pretty much through the whole movie. Every other character is with voiceover.
Right. And that one character happens to be one of the sexiest men on Earth, or he might be the sexiest man on Earth, Ryan Reynolds. Right? Didn't he win that award? I'm pretty sure he won that.
Maybe. I have no idea.
I don't know, man. I don't.
Nobody looks good in a coffin. Buried alive.
No.
Nobody looks good.
But think about it, though. Screenwriting and storytelling, telling a comprehensible story is difficult, and especially making it unique. But this guy, Chris Sparling, who wrote the script for Buried, he set out probably as a, separate himself, and also a challenge to write a 90-page feature about a guy being buried in a coffin, which is absolutely insane to even think about.
True.
I found myself thinking while reading the script, because we all agreed to read it first, then watch it.
Yeah.
And I found myself reading it thinking, how the hell are they going to film this?
Yeah, right.
How are they going to do it? And they did do a good job. Film-wise, I think, the shots they did, the creativity. I have a little bit of trivia on how they did it, but it was pretty cool.
Yeah, again, just going back to the writing portion of it, writing, just anything, it doesn't even matter. But, screenwriting specifically is such a grueling and time-consuming process that you have to be really patient with. And I'm still just in awe. So I applaud Chris Sparling for being able to, first of all, think of this plot, complete the screenplay, and ultimately get it produced. It's just really awesome that he was able to do that. And another thing I wanted to bring up just about the screenplay itself is that Just in its unconventional quality is that it's also similar script to A Quiet Place, which we talked about in episode, I don't know, one of our earlier episodes.
One of the first 10.
Because this script is something that goes against traditional mainstream screenwriting formulas.
Yeah, it's always nice to see someone do something different and find success.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, just to double back, I completely agree. Just amazing now, just thinking about it, that to extend a story like this and to fulfill a full feature film within basically one scene. I couldn't imagine just being like a writer. It's just like, God, where do I go from here? Like,
yeah,
it has 6 feet to deal with, you know?
I mean, sorry, Brian. I mean, not only are you're confined, your character's confined with what he can do, you are also confined as a writer to what you're able to do creatively to write a story. I mean, it's just like, I don't know, man. I can't wrap my brain around it. I mean, even like thinking about writing a story in a confined space like that alone, just the entirety of the film, I mean, is just kind of scary to me. It makes me claustrophobic as a creative person.
Just thinking about,
just the writing process, not being in that space, but like just trying.
Yeah, no, I agree, because you're so limited with what your options are with where your story can go, and that's why, to me, the plot of this story is weak compared to other stories I've read. Like, the plot's not that great, and that's because the guy's confined to a coffin. Like, there's only so many things the writer can do, right?
Yeah.
And that's why my point here is that, like, this whole story is just like, it's all just about an idea about being buried alive,
which is terrifying.
And then they built the story around it. Not really like they had the idea. Like, I'm sure the writer just was like, I want to write a story about a guy being buried alive. How does he get there? And then he figured out, the whole Iraq situation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just based on a really cool idea.
So do we want to move into the IMDb info on this one?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
So Buried came out in 2010 on October 15th, so right before Halloween, which is, I guess, good timing. This is a thriller. It's scary, I guess, in some ways.
Most definitely.
It's uncomfortable. I'll go ahead and read the logline. Paul is a U.S. truck driver working in Iraq. After an attack by a group of Iraqis, he wakes to find he is buried alive inside a coffin. With only a lighter and a cell phone, it's a race against time to escape this claustrophobic death trap.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, terrifying.
That logline just, it makes you really claustrophobic.
Yeah. And, this film it's received very well.
Yeah. I'll say this here. It's got a 7 out of 10 by just normal people on the website. And then by actual critics, it has a 65 out of 100. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty darn good. The movie was directed by Rodrigo Cortez, written by Chris Sparling.
Yeah.
Can't talk. And starring in the movie is Ryan Reynolds, because that's the only person you see on the screen besides some little video you see on a cell phone.
Yeah. I also just want to mention, so the writer, Chris Sparling, so this movie came out in 2010, okay?
Yeah.
And another screenplay that he wrote, I don't know if it was a screenplay he wrote himself out of his own idea or he was hired to write it. This other movie, it's called ATM. I've watched it, and it's got a similar vibe to Buried, where it's minimal location, supposed to make you feel claustrophobic.
Is it filmed through an ATM camera?
No.
That'd be so horrible.
In this movie, Josh Peck is in this movie. It's a rated R movie. It's like
Hug me, brother.
Yeah, it's like a slasher, like rated R movie. And there's other actors in it who you would recognize, like the guy from The Hurt Locker. Not like not the main character, Jeremy Renner, the other guy. I can't remember his name. He plays the character Eldridge, though.
Okay.
And then the girl,
I know who you're talking about.
The girl from her name's Alice Eve. She's from She's Way Out of My League, something like that.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at her right now. Yeah, I recognize her. She's in that movie with Jay Baruchel.
Yeah, so
romantic comedy.
Yes, yeah. So, but what I'm trying to say is maybe this guy Chris Sparling got like identified as a guy who's able to write films that are very claustrophobic, because this movie ATM, most of it takes place in a very small ATM like building where a killer is in a parking lot and these 3 characters are in there. So all they were trying to do was get money and then a killer stalking them. That's it. That's my rant. Or that's my tangent. Back to the IMDb info.
That's why you just use Chase Quick Pay, people. Don't get cash. You don't need cash nowadays.
Also, I should mention ATM is not a good film.
Yeah, it's got a 4.3 out of 10 by just normal people.
Yeah.
Poor old Josh Peck,
But anyways, This movie was made for $3 million, Buried, and worldwide it grossed 19 mil. So that's awesome.
Damn,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
perfect.
Real well.
Very good.
In the USA, though, it only grossed 1 million.
All right.
But hey, worldwide sales.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into the trivia. This screenplay for this film, Buried, was featured in the 2009 Blacklist, and that's a list of the most liked unmade scripts of the year. So
okay.
it was on that list.
Oh, it was
then
on the
got picked
Blacklist?
up. Yeah.
Okay, I know what that is.
And then
yeah.
it was picked up after that.
Okay. All
Pretty
right.
awesome. So I guess Rodrigo Cortez, when making Buried, he was the director. He was inspired by Alfred Hitchcock films with everything he did.
Okay.
I didn't really see, I don't know how that really works in there, but
Huh. I don't know. I don't know either.
Alfred Hitchcock is pretty cool.
Yeah.
The whole film was shot in sequence. So Ryan Reynolds, right? That makes his job kind of easier or harder? What do you think?
Wait, so they shot the movie like as how the movie placed
chronologically, yeah. So it started with him just waking up, like that's how they shot it.
Wow, you never hear that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, wow.
And it was shot in only 17 days in a Barcelona studio. So all inside of a studio.
Okay, that makes sense.
And Ryan, oh my God, I can't talk today. Ryan Reynolds stated that he suffered from claustrophobia towards the end of filming. So like I said, they did it in chronological order. So they actually had the sand, pouring onto him.
Yeah.
And he could feel it on his chest.
I'm sure.
And in that final shot, there actually is sand, and he actually is buried, slightly just under some sand. They had paramedics standing by for the shot. But he said it was horrible. He said it was the worst acting experience of his life.
Oh, I'm
he
sure,
hated
man.
it, and he said he never wanted to get back in that coffin.
I don't blame him.
Yeah. So yeah, do you guys think he deserves an Oscar? Maybe the Oscar for deepest performance, something like that.
Toughest mental performance, maybe. If that's one of them.
I don't know. I mean, I could understand why he could be mentioned for it or get any type of award just because it's him by himself, but I don't know. I thought some parts were kind of funny, unintentionally funny.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he definitely did not go as hard as Leonardo DiCaprio in what was that movie? When he actually crawled inside a bear's carcass or some shit.
The Revenant.
Yeah, The Revenant. Yeah. Well, that's how he got his Oscar. So just crawl inside some dead thing's carcass and you win an Oscar. 7 coffees were used in this movie. 7 different ones.
7 coffins?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you said coffee.
I can't talk today. 7 coffins.
I thought he said coffins.
Damn,
the
dude.
Pokemon.
Oh, like the Pokemon? No, well, coffins. Yeah, 7 of them. So maybe for different shots, they had to have different sizes to make it look right on the screen. I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, Ryan Reynolds, he's the only person we see in the flesh in the movie.
Yeah.
And I looked it up. If you're actually buried alive in a coffin, you can survive for about 5 hours if you breathe very slowly. But who the fuck would do that? You're going to be breathing fast. You're going to die. I don't know. I'd be dead in a half hour.
That sounds terrible. It's
Only
not.
a couple hours, yeah. Ew.
I think anyone could agree that's not a position they would want to be in.
Apparently it's peaceful, though, because the carbon dioxide or CO2 or whatever, it fills up the coffin, and then you just kind of pass out, and then, yep, you just die.
Oh, okay. That makes me feel better about it.
It's not even bad. And that's all trivia.
Script info, let's get it. Screenplay by Chris Sparling. Script draft we have is July 25th, 2009. Comes in at 89 pages, so about an hour and a half, which I think the movie was an hour and 34 or something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
89 pages. I was thrilled that it was only 89.
This is the shortest screenplay we've read on the show.
Yeah.
No, I think, one of them.
Quiet
Quiet
Place.
Place was only 60
62.
something.
Oh,
Which
we need
is
to do
unreal.
More of those.
Oh,
or
very
Breaking
true. I did
Breaking
forget about
Bad
that,
was
yeah.
only 60.
Yeah.
Or you could-
Well,
or
for
we could go
feature
with,
film, though.
Children of
Yeah.
Corn, even though that was a short story.
Oh, yeah, that
Children
was
of
the
the
short.
Corn,
That was
yeah.
only 20 pages.
Yeah.
Great week.
So right off the bat, I just want to talk about slug lines really quickly because I'm not sure we've ever talked about these elements of screenplays. So what a slug line is it's the heading of a scene that allows the reader to know where the particular scene takes place. So, for example, if you're reading a script, and in this one specifically, I noticed that there are only 1 to 2, maybe 3, maybe 5, I don't know, very minimal amount of slug lines, and they're labeled as interior, unknown room. A slug line is either labeled as interior or exterior based on...
Inside, outside.
Yeah, just wherever the scene takes place, right? So
Got it.
this script, right as it starts out, It's labeled as interior unknown room, which later on becomes interior coffin, right?
So that's 2 slug lines.
So that's like 2. I mean, I didn't really take count,
right?
but I mean, we only take place in the coffin. That's it. So it's just crazy to even think about that, because other scripts that you read, your interior, your exterior, your interior interior room, exterior park, like wherever the script takes place. So that was the first time I've ever come across something where there's only like single digit scenes.
It made reading the whole thing faster, because usually I have to stop and like, okay, this is where we're at now. We're at, we were just at a mall, but now we're at a lake.
Yeah.
And you have to like stop and like picture it so like you can get yourself there and like, okay, now I'm going to continue reading the scene.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, you didn't have to, because he was just in a coffin the whole time.
Yeah. And the script, that's where we take off right away. We find ourselves in a dark space. There's a character that's described as waking up and freaking out, panicking, not knowing where they are because it's pitch black in there. But I also want to talk about the movie really fast. The beginning of the film, because not even when we get into the story, I thought the opening credits did not fit the movie at all. And I did not like the score for the film either.
I hated the music too.
So immediately I was like, kind of like, as a viewer, I was already like kind of put off.
I'm with you, 100%.
So I just wanted to mention that.
What did you think about the music, Bryan?
I thought it was interesting, but it probably didn't really fit as well as much as it could have.
I asked you that, and I was like, wait, he didn't watch the movie.
Why are you lying? Why are you lying to us?
I love how he tried to play it off. Yeah, good for you, dude. You sounded confident. I think everybody believed you until I said something. Good job, though. Good job. You fooled me for a second. But the music, just like you were saying, Bryan, it didn't fit. It just wasn't right.
Yeah, which, it's hard, it's hard, but like it just
the beginning sounded
didn't
like
match
Predator
up
to me. I thought I was watching Predator.
Or like I don't know
Inception,
what it was, man.
maybe.
It just didn't really match. And the opening credits, like there were like lines connecting to cubes, and
it looked like a James Bond opening
right.
or something.
Yeah, I just didn't really get it. But
it took like 3 minutes too.
Yeah,
I fast forwarded that shit. I actually fast forwarded through this movie quite a few times.
All right, well, not gonna lie. Here's the thing. Okay, we all agreed that we liked the screenplay more than
so
the
much
film.
better.
Okay,
yeah.
And
when you know what's gonna happen too, you know what's gonna happen. So I was able to fast forward.
Basically, we all came to the conclusion that we liked the beginning and the end, and everything in the middle was kind of just blah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Again, great like idea, but maybe just did not follow through as much. But
I'll talk about this at the end too. I think this whole idea would have been better as a short film. 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Just less things going on, and then you can just highlight how good the beginning and the end were.
Yeah.
But
I think a short film would have been good too.
Not many people see short films, though. You got to make it 90 minutes if you want to be, a part of the elite.
Still, they were able to achieve the feature film length, so they achieved their goal and they made money. That's really what they wanted to do. But I'm sure they wanted to tell the best story as possible, but I'm not sure they really achieved that. Anyways.
Yeah, should we paint the picture of the beginning a little more when he wakes up?
Sure.
Because he's tied. His hands are tied and his mouth.
His mouth is bound.
Gagged or whatever. I don't know what you call it.
Yeah, he's gagged.
But he was able to just pull it down, so it wasn't tied tight.
Right.
So he gets his mouth free right away, and he's screaming.
Yeah.
And then he gets his hands free from a nail, which I don't understand why the terrorists tie his hands in the first place.
Sure.
Because they want him to get a cell phone, which he finds next.
Yeah.
And they want him to use the cell phone to help for a ransom, because that's the whole goal of the terrorists. They have Ryan Reynolds for ransom.
They want money.
Yeah, we eventually find out that because once he finds the cell phone, he starts to just call anyone for help, the police.
Well, why is he there?
Yeah,
in the coffin.
Yeah, that's when he explains, when he's on the phone, he explains that he's a truck driver, an American truck driver. He's not part of the military at all. He's just like a contracted
working
truck
for the
driver,
military, right.
just transporting whatever sort of supplies or goods. And
in Iraq.
Yeah, in Iraq, and his convoy gets ambushed by some Iraqi insurgents, criminals, whatever they are, and just people they don't like what the Americans are doing, and he just gets taken and knocked out, and they throw him in a coffin and they bury his ass
with the plan to hold him for ransom, right?
Yes. That's the premise of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
which does have like some real weight. Like American journalists, things like this in the past have been held captive by terrorists.
Yeah.
And what is America's rule with terrorists? We don't negotiate with terrorists.
We don't negotiate.
Yes.
I learned that from was it Air Force One with Harrison Ford or something? That's where I learned that.
Harrison Ford. Yeah.
The president. He's like, I'm the president, but I'll beat the shit out of you too. He saves the day.
That movie's hilarious.
It's a good movie.
So yeah, who's he calling? Who's he calling throughout here? We can kind of just knock these off. I mean, because that's it. He's in here, he's in the coffin, and he's just calling people.
In the beginning, he's panicked, like, as well. So the first phone call he makes is he calls a 911, just a random 911 number in America, and he gets linked to Ohio.
Yes.
And he's just very panicked, really quick hang up with the call. Pretty unimportant.
Yeah.
Then he tries to call his family, but no one answers.
Yes.
Which happens a lot.
Yeah.
Until the end. And then he finally figures out that he was given a text by the person who put him in the coffin, so he calls the terrorist named Jabir, who doesn't sound Arabian in the movie.
Yeah, I think he's played by
a Hispanic man.
Yeah, when we looked him up on IMDb, yeah.
So he gets a call from Jabir, and now he knows he's being held for ransom. So then he tries to call someone named Donna.
Who she probably knows his wife.
Yes, like a wife's friend.
Correct.
And this lady hangs up on him.
This was great. This part was hilarious. This was the funniest part of the movie.
It was funny. She hangs up on him because he's yelling at her, and she's like, I'm sick of you always yelling at me.
Yeah.
And then she hangs up on him.
Because he's just in full panic mode.
But at this point,
understands with these phone calls either. But it'd be tough to believe if someone was, I don't know.
You're right.
I got a phone call and some guy was saying he's buried alive. I was just like, what?
Yeah, no, I agree. I was kind of reminded of the movie Cellular a little bit, if you've ever seen that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because there's a lot of cell phone interactions in that, definitely.
Yeah.
But he finally gets a number from Donna to get linked to the FBI. So he talks to this lady in FBI in Chicago in the FBI, and she links him then to the commander of the hostage working group over in Iraq. And this guy's name's Dan.
Yeah.
Commander Dan.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I was like, all right, hell yeah, this is what he needs right now.
Yes.
He's finally talking to people who are in Iraq that can actually try to find him.
But
they try to track his phone, right? They can't do it. They try to trace the phone of the people that are
can't do it.
Contacting him. They can't do it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there's bombings going over the head of where he's buried.
Yeah.
So sand is starting to come in at this point.
Yes.
So let's see. He tries to call his mom then. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah. I can understand why they did that because, I can understand it from if you're in the coffin, you're trying to talk to people who you love because you think, hey, this might be the last time I'll ever hear their voice again.
I think at this point, too, he has a line where he says, I'm going to die. He actually thinks he's going to die.
Yeah, he said that to Donna. That's what he said to her to force her to be okay.
Right.
I think he accepts it more later on as well. Mm-hmm. That's when he calls his wife again, I think.
But the whole
son.
Yeah. The phone call with his mom, though, like I said earlier, I can understand why he would want to call her because, hey, that's the last time I might talk to you again. But he calls his mom. She's in a nursing home. She has Alzheimer's. So when he talks to her, she has no idea who he is. And but the scene alone, kind of really made no sense to me and had no purpose because all I could see from the creator's point of view is that they're just trying to make the audience feel even worse for this guy. He's trying to call his mom, and she doesn't even know who he is. So to me, that scene was kind of pointless.
They're just trying to make you sad.
Yeah.
They're just trying to get at your emotions.
Right. And then I want to talk about the other scene that I was kind of just okay. Sure. Was the snake, right? When there's the snake in his coffin because he passes out and then he falls asleep, he wakes up, and then there's just a snake slithering down his pant leg. It's in his pants. It's slithering out of his pants. And
that'd be terrifying.
That would suck, but of course,
how did he even get in there?
It must have been just slithering through underground and then got in there. I don't really know, but
I'm skeptical on that too, Brian. I don't know how that snake got in that coffin.
But here's the thing. Of course, the overarching conflict of the story is that he is in a coffin, right? So adding the snake as a sub conflict was kind of like
just filler time.
I mean, I get it. You know, if you're in a small space with a venomous snake, yeah, sure, I get it. But just the way of how he interacted with it and like throwing liquor on it and then lighting the to burn it out was just like kind of goofy to me. I don't know. You know, how did you guys feel about it?
It felt like a scene from the Goonies, and it was like somehow in the movie. You know, just using like, oh, I'm gonna burn the snake and it'll go away. Don't worry, guys.
Yeah.
But,
like
oh shit, I'm gonna burn the coffin.
Yeah, like I mean, I get it.
Like what he realized after.
I mean, because it said in the screenplay
that he almost did.
Yeah, that it is made of wood, so it's like, yeah, it's flammable. But like, I don't know. It just seemed like a really like weird conflict to me that was kind of unnecessary. Yeah,
filler time.
So there's that.
At this point, the terrorists get real too because they sent him a video of his coworker that they had also captured and they were holding hostage.
Yeah,
and they kill her and they send him the video.
Yeah, right.
And I'm sure they like posted that on like on the internet too. So like Americans are seeing that.
What was the?
Totally.
Because they requested like a ransom video, and like apparently Ryan Reynolds is like YouTube famous at this point.
Right, because he posted. He had at this point he had already posted a video of himself just saying, "Hi, this is my name. I'm being held hostage. I'm in a coffin."
Yes.
Blah blah blah. And yeah, and apparently it had been posted on YouTube. But again, America does not negotiate with terrorists.
No way.
Right. And he was only accepting and doing what these people were telling him to do because he wants to get out of the coffin. He's like, I'll do anything. You know?
He's panicking.
I'll make a ransom video if you let me out. But the people who he's talking to, the American officials that he's talking to on the phone, are telling him not to do anything that they're telling him to do.
Because they want to crowd control. They want to minimize the public's access to what's really going on in Iraq.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. So that's a part of this story that is pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's a big conflict that's real. That's actually happening.
I mean, this movie makes like those types of people look bad.
It does.
Like look terrible.
They look incompetent.
Yeah.
Which hurts the story in a way, but I guess it backs up like that point if that was the point that they were trying to make.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know. But he sees this video of the woman getting shot, this woman he worked with, and he pukes all over himself. And then he calls Dan, this like chief hostage guy back in Iraq, and he tells him what happened. And this Dan guy just keeps telling him, "Hey, we're looking, blah blah blah.
Can't find you.
Then he gets this call from his boss at CRT or like an HR guy at CRT.
Yeah, the head of HR.
Place of employment.
Yeah,
and they basically they get an affidavit from him, a verbal affidavit, where he basically just like gets fired and they're not liable for anything. For his entire employment in Iraq.
Right.
They're basically erasing him from, like, the planet.
Yeah, which, I mean...
So his family gets nothing.
Yeah, exactly. They're saying, like, contractually, you were aware of everything that could potentially happen during your time over in Iraq, so we're not responsible for what happens to you. And they hang up, and they're just like, we're sorry. I mean, reading that, it was, like, kind of funny.
I didn't feel bad for him. I was like, dude, you signed up for the dumbest job on planet Earth. Like, you didn't read that in the fine print that if you get held hostage, they're just going to disown you.
Yeah.
Read the contract.
That was just another slap in the face. He's like, it's just like, okay, like he's in a coffin. Now his employer is calling him up to say, there's nothing we can do for you.
What's crazy too is it would have been in the best interest of his family if he had already been dead.
Sure.
Because then they would have got the money.
Right, yeah.
Wow.
So at this point, he's completely broken, right? Because now he knows his family's not getting anything, and he thinks he's going to die. Then he gets another call from the terrorists saying, "Hey, we know where you live. If you don't send a video of you cutting off your finger, we're going to hurt your family in Michigan," because they know where he lives.
Yeah.
And it's a bluff entirely.
Absolutely.
But he's panicking. Again, he's scared to death.
He'll do anything to get out.
He's doing anything to live. So he makes this gruesome video of cutting off his finger.
Yeah.
Sends it over to them.
Yes.
Then he gets a chance to talk to his wife. She finally calls back the number, I believe.
Yep.
She had left her phone at home or something. He talks to her. And then the investigator again? The hostage? Dan finally calls him back, says, hey, we're on to you. We think we know where you are. We captured a guy, and he says he knows where an American is buried. And he's like, we're on the way. So he tells his wife that he's going to be fine. He thinks everything's going to be okay. But it turns out that the Iraqi soldier they captured told them where Mark White was, a guy who was captured, and Dan told Ryan Reynolds that this was a guy he saved.
Yes.
But they
never found him.
He lied.
Yeah.
Which I didn't understand either.
Wow.
Someone who was in the same circumstance. Well, I mean, they're lying because they're just trying to give you hope. Which I mean,
yeah. I mean, I told you guys this before we recorded. This Dan guy has the worst job on planet Earth. He's a hostage negotiator who doesn't save a single hostage. Like, everyone he talks to dies.
yeah.
It's a horrible job.
Worst job in the world. Yeah, I really liked how they did this because Ryan Reynolds was like, "Oh, you're digging," like, "But I can't hear you. I can't hear you." And it would just be like, I can imagine like on the phone.
It was awful.
It was a good
noise
choice.
because you know they're not by you at all.
And it was the most effective part of watching it on the screen for sure, and reading it. Like, it was just the most effective part of all of this.
The ending was definitely the best. So, I mean, especially on scene or on screen because you can see what's actually going on. It was absolutely horrifying. Like, even imagining trying to be in that position because this Dan guy, once they discover that the coffin that the Iraqi brought them to was not the location of Ryan Reynolds' character.
All he can say is, "I'm sorry."
All he can say is, "I'm sorry."
And while he runs out of oxygen.
This is when the sand is pouring into the coffin,
Yeah.
and it fills up entirely. So now he's just
Suffocated.
yeah, he's going to suffocate. He's just surrounded by sand. It's terrible. I couldn't even imagine that.
And then it just ends. It like cuts to black, and you're just like,
And that's
damn.
it. It's just like, wow. So I'll
Ryan
give him
Reynolds
that.
goes out.
I'll give him that. Like, I like, and again, I feel like I say this all the time for every ending that we've done in an episode where the ending is not a good ending. Because, I mean, most movies, everyone is able to get out of the predicament that they're in, right? Which is a total fictional element of most real life circumstances.
Yep, 99% of the time there's a happy ending.
Exactly, which is not how everything plays out all the time. So when a movie ends like that, I appreciate more. I kind of appreciate it more because not only is it, I don't want to say realistic, but it's just more powerful.
Yeah,
it's much more powerful.
It's just breaking the rules of a normal story that we see, like usually.
You're leaving the audience with a different feeling than most movies leave you with.
I mean, because it doesn't even matter. Like, you think of any movie where the ending is happy, you throw that character through all the bullshit, and it doesn't even matter because you know in the back of your mind they're still going to survive.
Yeah.
Most
Right.
endings of films.
Yeah.
Which this one was like, no, they grew some balls and they were like, no.
Especially
this
one
dude
starring
is not
Ryan
getting out of
Reynolds.
this.
Ryan Reynolds, too, who I'm sure at this time was like pretty notable.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, Deadpool was coming up. He was locking down that role.
Yeah.
Someone asked me earlier this week, they were like, "What are you doing this week for the podcast?" And I was like, "Oh, it's this Ryan Reynolds movie. You know, it's called Buried." And they're like, "Oh, yeah, Ryan Reynolds. I know him." And I was trying to think of other movies he was in, and I was like, "Damn, like I actually can't really think of any." I was like, Green Lantern?
Waiting?
Like, I don't really know.
What's the National Lampoon's one where he's like a fraternity guy?
Oh, man.
I can't
Van
think of it.
Wilder.
Yeah, Van Wilder.
That's a good
Those are like older movies that people wouldn't really know.
For such a recognizable guy, I just like couldn't think of anything he was in.
Pikachu movie.
Oh, no.
I don't know. Do you guys got anything else you want to say, or do we want to move into closing here?
Yeah, let's close it up.
Okay.
Put a bow on it.
Let's bury this episode.
Oh, coming in with
Hey.
those ringers, huh?
You want to start, Brian? Since you just shocked the world
Yeah,
right
sure.
there?
Yeah, seriously.
Do it.
I mean, right off the bat, before we were recording, I was shooting down the screenplay. I guess just like as reading, I was looking at just the dialogue because just the phone calls he was having, people just like, relax, we're trying our best. Like, I get it. Like, but this man's locked in a coffin, you know, and he's like, of course he'd be yelling at you and I would be getting annoyed on the other end. But
Yeah.
I just found myself reading. I was just like, come on.
I'm
Either
with you.
figure
dude.
it out or like just hang up. Essentially, I don't know. Some of the dialogue was just dragging on too long, and for the conversations themselves. But pretty amazing though for a movie just to take place in one spot and just to develop a whole story into 90 pages and into a full feature film. Like totally something that would be able to attack for maybe another idea for a movie, but definitely testing the talent level of the screenwriter and director for this one.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm with you. I think it was a really cool idea, and it's like definitely an accomplishment to make a whole movie in a really small space. But overall, I think the plot was boring, and the movie should have been a short film, like 20 minutes max, the story to me just didn't really hold up. Like, Bryan, you brought up the interactions with these people that were supposed to be helping him. Like, a lot of the times I felt like those people weren't even acting like professional in how they should be. Like,
Yeah,
I was like,
very
this
true.
is not how these like people would be talking to someone who's like held hostage. I just felt like the interactions would be different.
Yeah.
They weren't believable to me. So yeah, overall pretty cool.
All right, I'll put the last nail in the coffin. These stupid. I know. We're dragging on with these.
Good.
I know.
You're really gonna put me 6 feet under with these jokes.
Get out of here, man. Yeah, I mean, I think I enjoyed the screenplay more. Like I said earlier, I'm just not sure the film as a whole was pulled off to its best ability. But I mean, I really don't even have like any suggestions to how they would even be able to pull it off more. I have no idea. That's just my opinion as a viewer. Like we all said, the ending of the film was definitely the most effective on screen. And again, like we all agreed, the beginning and the end were the best parts. The middle just felt like just padding, just kind of it just dragged on a lot, especially in the film. I was more into it in the screenplay. In the film itself, I felt myself just kind of looking away and
bored,
doing other things.
checking my phone. Fast forwarding.
But I mean, overall, like with the screenplay, I was just mainly interested to see how Chris Sparling operated with his writing and I was just curious to see how he was able to create a story by limiting himself to this small place. I like I said in the beginning, I just think it's amazing that he was able to complete something like that, because I couldn't imagine sitting at a computer every day trying to find a way to turn this into a 90-page feature script like that. That just mind boggles me.
I feel like it'd be tough to pitch too. Like you're trying to get like people in a room you're trying to convince them like you should fund my movie, even though it only takes place in a coffin.
Yeah, that's definitely
it's good. Like,
that would be hard.
That
that would be very tough. That too. Yeah, the angle on that to market it would be very difficult as well.
The angle is it's cheap because it's $1 million because it's only in a coffin, or $3 million.
Yeah, $3 million. Yeah, $3 million.
No matter what platform you're using to listen to us, I just want it to be known that we're available on iTunes, Spreaker, and YouTube. So if you like our content, please be sure to follow all of our channels so you can stay in the loop with new episodes. Also, feel free to give us a rating and leave us comments, or send us an email at screenplayjunkie.show@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your feedback.
Also, if you have any recommendations of screenplays we should read, movies we should watch, or really anything, let us know on any of our platforms. We're always looking for other things to check out. On the next episode, we're going to be talking about the 1998 sport comedy that stars Adam Sandler, The Waterboy. Thank you for listening. We hope you can join us next time.